And while I've given you this image of what's possible, it so often happens that we don't access it. And the reason why we don't access it is because we're actually blocking ourselves from our own healing. We actually get in the way. So I'll share a few of what those blockers are. And most of the times it's fear. It is fear because we worry that in healing, it means that we'll have to revisit the hurt. The same thing that broke you, the same thing that left you wounded and feeling shattered. The fear is that you have to go through that same thing again in order to heal. That isn't the case. I don't think many of us will be able to survive, the same trauma over and over again just to heal. So it isn't the case that you have to go through the same experience. It is the case that you have to connect with the pain, that you actually have to meet the emotions that are showing up. And that can be done in a way that is gentle. Actually, it's most effective if it's done in a way that's gentle. It's most effective if it's done in a way that's kind. And it's most effective if it's done in a way that is at your pace. Right? And so I just want to name that the fear that healing is going to hurt all over again, that isn't necessarily true. It means that you do have to find the form of healing that works best for you, that is most supportive for your personality and your pace and where you are in your journey. But if your healing is re-triggering and re-traumatizing and hurting all over again, it means that you're probably not healing. You're hurting all over again. Right? So that's the first fear. Another fear is the fear of change. So it's the fear that when I heal, I'm going to be a different person, right? Like the shit that I've gone through, when I heal through this, I can't be the same. And if I become a different person, then do I become a different person for those who are around me? Am I a different person for my partner, for my friends, for my family, for the job that I'm in? When I become a different person, does it mean that I'm going to have to change my life and my lifestyle to honor the new me? And that fear is real. That fear is real. And you might have to, or you might not have to. But you'll discover a new version of yourself that's more authentic, and you'll find ways to honor that new version and to honor whoever else and whatever else is important in your life. And something that a teacher shared with me the other day, and actually this was the breathwork teacher, was that in the midst of breathwork, as there is energy, the emotions, the trauma that is moving out of the body with the breath, there is some resistance that comes up, like we start to tighten up and hold back, right? This fear of dying. And the reality is that we are going through a death process. It's a death process of the ego, or a death process of the image that we have created for ourselves. And while that image served you at some point in your life, it might not be serving you now. And the reason why you know that it isn't serving you now is because the dying is happening, the releasing is happening. That's the part of you that has to be released in order to give birth or in order to make way for a new version of you, right? So things that you might release might be people pleasing. You might release not sharing your voice. You might release hiding your light. You might release putting others before yourself, doing so in a way that it actually impacts your health, it impacts your well-being. You might release being obsessed with other people's opinion of you, like not being able to be at peace in your body, within your own being, unless there is some affirmation that comes from someone else that they're pleased with you, right? And while those things might serve us in the midst of being traumatized, right? While those might be helpful, hopeful, while those might be helpful coping mechanisms, as you're going through your rebirth and stepping into this more powerful version of yourself, they might not serve you, right? And so some dying has to happen so that you can experience your personal rebirth, right? And we're just coming out of Easter at the time of this live and the time of this recording. And Easter was about the death and the rebirth process, right? And so there are these cycles that we go through that are inevitable, and they're meant to make us stronger, regardless of the pain that you've gone through, regardless of what or who you've lost. There is an opportunity for deep healing. There's an opportunity to find so much courage and so much strength inside of you. And I really want you to be able to connect with that. I really want you to be able to access that. Okay, so I just gave two fears. The first is fear of going through the pain. The next one is fear of changing, becoming a different person. And then, ooh, this is a juicy one. This is a juicy, juicy one. This last one is the fear of your own divinity. So Marianne Williamson has this wonderful poem. Okay, our deepest fear. It's a little long. I'll see how much of it I can read. So our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we're liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Ooh, okay. That was really good. Like, yeah, that was some beautiful energy right there. Couldn't stay still with that one. Yes. So that is a big fear, the fear of meeting your own divinity, the fear that you will come face to face with the beauty and the perfection that is you, the imperfect perfection that is you, the perfectly imperfect that is you, the magnificence that is you. And when you come face to face with that, you'll realize that the stories that you've told yourself about being too small, not being enough, whatever enough is, that those stories weren't true. And if those stories are not true, then it means that you actually have to step into your own power. It means that you actually have to step into your authentic self. And that's the fear. That is the fear that you will be called to step up and answer. That you will be called to step up and live the life that you know that you are worthy of. And so sometimes, because we're just a little bit nervous of what that means, then we actually delay our healing. We actually don't answer the call. We don't respond to the invitation. One of the practices that I teach, and it's been so fun exploring this, it's been fun having this insight, show up and sharing it with others and continuing to practice it in my own journey. And this is finding the balance between courage and care. And what I mean by this is we are always going to be called to do something that we're afraid of. We're always going to be called to step into some other version of ourselves, and it's going to be new and uncomfortable and scary. And because it's new, we might not want to go because it's not a space that we've navigated before. If we have, fears around doing it well or perfectionism and not disappointing people and not being criticized, then that might cause you to be even more stuck in your life. Right? So we're always called to more. And it takes courage to answer that call. It takes courage to step into that. And while it takes courage to step into that, we don't have to throw ourselves in the fire, because in order for a healing to happen, it actually requires safety. Like, we have to feel safe in order to give ourselves a permission to heal. And so that's where care comes in. The courage is doing this bold act. It's taking the first step and the next. And the care is actually having the support you need around you in order to do that. Having anything that you need around you in order to do that. So maybe it's going slow. Maybe it's having a roadmap so that you know what to expect. Maybe it's working with a mentor or a guide so that they can say, okay, up ahead, this corner, there's going to be a dragon that sneaks behind the rock, and you're going to want to be prepared for it. So bring your armor, bring your fire protective wear, because this dragon spits a shit ton of fire. Right? What if that's what you need to feel safer? Whatever it is that you're moving through, you don't have to throw yourself into it with all of the vulnerability. How do you wrap yourself up in care? Because this is your healing. And as you're doing something brave, how do you support yourself in the process?